Conventional family hatchbacks that are also full EVs are still quite thin on the ground, but Peugeot's E-308 hopes to set a trend for them. It comes in hatch and estate forms and aims to establish some fresh standards for the kind of car a family EV should be. Something we haven't seen much in the current explosion of full electric compact cars are EV versions of conventional family hatchbacks. True, if you're looking at something like a Volkswagen ID.3 or a Kia Niro EV, that's essentially what you've got. But both those manufacturers pretend those cars are crossovers. Here is something much more straightforward, the Peugeot E-308. In terms of conventional EV family hatches, you could argue that it's the first one that we've seen since the Volkswagen e-Golf was discontinued in 2019. Unlike that car, there's more than one body style, an SW Estate offered, as well as this 5-door hatch, and developed alongside this model with exactly the same 54 kilowatt-hour battery and powertrain are full electric versions of its close Stellantis group cousin, the Vauxhall Astra. This 308 was the first of the two cars to market and joins the existing 308 hybrid plug-in model for those wanting to make a more eco-minded choice in this segment. To find out more, you'll need the usual thorough car and driving road test. Peugeot's latest 54 kilowatt-hour battery is being rolled out across its EVs at present and of course features here. It incorporates a more sophisticated chemical composition which makes possible a Volkswagen ID.3 rivaling 257-mile range figure. This battery powers a front axle-mounted 156 bhp motor, which is tasked with hauling nearly 1.7 tonnes of curb weight along, and the result is a car that doesn't feel particularly rapid for an EV. It'll get you to 62 mph from rest in 9.8 seconds, a bit slower than the class norm, which is in the 7 to 8 second bracket. Overtaking needs to be quite carefully planned. At least, unlike quite a few EVs these days, top speed comfortably breaks the 3-figure barrier rated at 106 miles an hour. That's provided you engage the most focused of the 3 available drive modes, Sport. The others are Normal and Eco. There's quite a sporty feel thanks to Peugeot's usual but unusual iCockpit driving position, which sees a dinky little quick reacting steering wheel that's ideal for wrist flick manoeuvres. Perform a few of them though and you'll certainly feel the prodigious weight of the battery pack, which means that this usually quite light and agile family hatch here tips the scales, as we've said, at a fairly prodigious level. At least that battery's central lower down positioning minimises the downside by lowering the centre of gravity. Unlike with most rivals, there are no steering wheel paddles or selectable screen settings to alter brake regeneration. But Peugeot does provide a selectable brake option on the transmission interface, which ups energy harvesting to the point where a lot of the retardation can be handled by the brake regen system rather than by the foot pedal. Ride quality is better than it is on most other compact TVs of this size and far softer than in the equivalent rather overfirm Vauxhall Astra Electric. You certainly won't be clumping over speed humps and crashing through potholes in the way that we have with some recent small EVs we've tested. And Peugeot's kept wind noise and tyre roar at reasonable levels, so you can get the refinement benefit of that near silent powertrain. On this top GT model there's a bit of rather basic drive assist technology too, courtesy of an adaptive cruise control with stop and go system which automatically maintains your speed to vehicles in front on the highway, and when you come across a tailback will seamlessly bring you to a stop, then when appropriate automatically start you off again. The 308 was the first Stellantis Group model to be offered with combustion, plug-in hybrid or pure electric power. Either way, beyond different badge work, visual differentiations designating the various powertrains used, a few. So, as an EV customer, you'll need to look elsewhere if you want to make more of an eco-statement to the neighbours. Unless you think this third generation 308's sharky styling already makes enough of a statement, eye-catching in both hatch and SW estate body styles. It certainly makes a more stylish driveway statement than its identically engineered close cousin, the Vauxhall Astra Electric. The diamond-cut 18-inch Ottawa-style alloy wheels are common to both the available trim levels, specifically developed for this E308 to aid aerodynamic efficiency. Unlike most EVs, there's no ugly blanked-off front grille, and the look of this appendage changes subtly with trim choice. The grille featuring horizontal chrome stamping on the mainstream Allure model, or a dark chrome checkered finish on a GT variant like this one. Flanking it are slim LED headlights, complemented by Peugeot's fang-like LED daytime running lights. The headlamps gain intelligent matrix beams with this top GT trim level. At the rear, there are tail lights with three-claw style lighting elements that gain LED illumination with this top GT specification. Under the skin, the 308's EMP2 platform required a third evolution to be able to support this full battery version. That's shared with this model's close Stellantis group cousin, the Vauxhall Astra Electric, but not with the other Stellantis group model in this segment, Citroen's EC4, which uses an older eCMP chassis. Time to take a look inside. The cabin of this third generation 308 is virtually unaltered for this E308 model, which means that everything's very in your face and angular. Virtually everything you touch feels tactile and of high quality. And as usual with a 308, the first thing you're going to have to decide is whether you can get on with the distinctive iCockpit dash design, with its tiny steering wheel above which, rather than through which, you're supposed to view the instruments. The little gauges you view of the virtual variety displayed on a 10-inch screen are unusual too, but all the information shown is clear and easy to assimilate, and the screen layout gets clever 3D graphics with this top GT trim. The central monitor is also 10 inches in size, but is deeper and more informative, underscored by a row of what Peugeot calls iToggle switches, which here operate the climate features, but which can be reprogrammed for other functions if you wish. Normally, you'd expect this central screen layout to flow down into the lower part of the centre stack, but the designers clearly felt more storage space could be freed up by separating out this angular lower console with its diminutive little impulse selector gear shifting switch. Lumbar adjustment comes as standard for the beautifully upholstered seats. With the exception of restricted rear three-quarter vision, the ergonomics are fine, and build quality from the French Mulhouse factory is difficult to fault. Right, time to take a look in the rear. The downsides of not creating an EV from a clean sheet of paper are generally most obvious in terms of rear seat passenger space. And so it is here. It's certainly not what you'd call spacious back here, or at least it won't be if you front seat folk of at least average height sitting ahead of you. And there's the kind of prominent central transmission tunnel that you'd think a front-driven EV wouldn't need. We should point out that the SW Estate version offers a fraction more leg space than this hatch, but the difference isn't great, and you'd certainly do better in class rivals like Volkswagen's ID.3 or BYD's Atto 3. The scalloped out seat backs don't help too much with space for your knees, but there's lots of room to slide your feet beneath the seats ahead. Headroom's not overly generous either, so you shouldn't be tempted to further reduce it by specifying the optional panoramic glass roof. As at the front though, classy finishing makes up for much. The way the interior part of this centre armrest is trimmed, for instance, is a far cry from the mediocre class norm. There are two cup holders and a pen tray here, plus the reasonably sized door bins have bottle holders. Coat hooks have been forgotten in the overhead grab handles, but there are beady little LED reading lights above each one, and there's a centre small cubby with twin USB-C ports and twin vents just above. Finally, let's take a look out back. It's not immediately obvious how to open this rear hatch. The catch is concealed beneath this glossy centre strip. And even on this uber pricey top spec model, you have to raise the tailgate yourself, at which point you're faced with quite a sizable loading lip, which can't be compensated for with an adjustable height boot floor because Peugeot doesn't offer one. Conventionally, engine 308s offer 412 litres back here, but like the plug-in hybrid model, the trunk capacity of this E308 falls to 361 litres because of all the battery cells beneath the floor. Thanks to this loading area's usefully square shape though, that's still enough for 5 carry-on suitcases, which is pretty class competitive, meaning that folded pushchairs should fit in with little trouble. The usual bag hooks and floor tie-down points also feature, plus there's a side netting compartment on the left and a ski hatch for longer items. Unlike with conventional 308s, there's no extra room of any consequence below the floor. Certainly not enough here for a spare wheel of any sort, but you can just about fit a charging lead in the compartment provided. Obviously, because of its slightly higher roofline, the SW Estate version has a larger boot, 548 litres in size with the E308 model. Fold everything flat and the E308 hatch will offer you 1,271 litres of capacity. For the E308 SW Estate, the seats folded figure is 1,574 litres. You'll have to fit everything back here because unlike with some EV rivals, there's no extra underbonnet frunk space. Let's get to the pricing at the time of this test in winter 2023. Expect an asking figure from around £40,000 for this E308 in hatch form, and you won't be too far out. And there's a premium of around £1,200 more for the SW Estate version. In other words, just a bit more than you'd pay for the plug-in hybrid variant. Expect the usual 2 trim levels, Allure, or as in this case, GT. Now we have to point out that this £40,000 price starting point, though similar to what's being asked for this car's close Stellantis group cousin, the Vauxhall Astra Electric, is around 6 to 10% above the starting point figure for other key players in this class, like Renault's Megane E-Tech Electric, Kia's Niro EV, Fiat's 600e, Volkswagen's ID.3, the Hyundai Kona Electric, and the base sport version of the Fisker Ocean. So you're gonna need to think that this Peugeot has a more stylish, avant-garde premium feel than cars like those. There's just a chance you might. And if so, you're gonna need to know about equipment levels. As you'd hope for the sums being asked, even base Allure spec is well equipped, including tinted rear windows, 18-inch Ottawa alloy wheels, and a chrome grille with a high gloss black rear panel with chrome trim. Inside, Allure models offer heated front seats and a heated steering wheel. Allure variants also feature a reversing camera, customizable eye-toggle switches, automatic air conditioning with an air quality system, and a ski hatch. Media stuff includes connected 3D navigation with TomTom Live updates, plus natural voice recognition. Inside, GT models benefit from tri-material Alcantara seats with Isabella part leather trim and Adamite coloured stitching. There's embossed aluminium trim on the dashboard and door panels, 8-colour ambient lighting and aluminium door sills and pedals. GT models also add front parking sensors and a 3D digital instrument cluster. On to safety equipment. As you'd expect, all variants get autonomous braking, Peugeot's active safety brake system, which, day or night, can specifically pick out both pedestrians and cyclists. There's also high beam assist and the brand's Connect SOS safety system, which will alert the emergency services with your GPS location if the airbags go off. And like all 308s, this one gets an automatic post-collision braking system, which will brake the car after an impact so that you're less likely to go on and hit something else. Lane keeping assist is also standardised, and there's high beam assist to automatically dip your headlights for you at night. Peugeot includes its driver assist pack on GT spec E308s like this one. This primarily gives you long-range blind spot detection, which alerts you if you're about to dangerously pull out in front of another vehicle. You also get rear cross-traffic alert, which warns you of oncoming traffic when you're reversing out of a space. And there's adaptive cruise control with stop and go. And as the name suggests, that automatically maintains your speed to vehicles in front on the highway, and when you come across a tailback will seamlessly bring you to a stop, and then when appropriate automatically start you off again. Of course, across the range, all the usual passive safety features come included. Twin front, side and curtain airbags, twin Isofix child seat fittings for the rear bench, front seat safety headrests, ESP stability control with ABS and automatic hazard light activation for heavy braking. We gave you the 257-mile range figure in our driving section. To get near to that, you'll have to make frequent use of the provided Eco Drive mode and of the B transmission setting, which will increase the aggressiveness of the brake regeneration system, so recovering more energy back to the 54 kilowatt-hour battery, which has 51 kilowatt-hours of usable capacity. That battery features a new chemical composition comprising 80% nickel, 10% manganese and 10% cobalt, all of which improves efficiency, as do low-friction tyres, aero wheel designs and a subtle aero-style EV makeover. But none of it's enough to get this Peugeot anywhere near benchmark levels of driving range in this segment. The class leader, Hyundai's Kona Electric, manages 319 miles between charges. We've been getting around 4.4 miles per kilowatt hour on this test, which translates into a real-world range of about 225 miles. You can monitor drive efficiency via a provided statistics part of the centre screen's energy section. That energy section also has a power flow monitor and a charging section, which you can use to set battery replenishment times if you don't want to use the appropriate part of the provided My Peugeot app. Via this app, you can also see essential data like efficiency, and also you can make servicing appointments and access a digital handbook. We mentioned charging. Let's get to that in more detail. The E308 can charge at up to 100 kilowatts. That's about the same as a Hyundai Kona Electric. But to give you some class perspective, an ID.3 charges at up to 120 kilowatts. Charging at 100 kilowatts at a DC public rapid charger, the brand claims a battery replenishment rate from 20 to 80% in 28 minutes. An onboard three-phase 11 kilowatt charger is included as standard, and if you're able to charge at 11 kilowatts at home, you'll replenish the battery completely in 5 hours 45 minutes. The 7.4 kilowatt wall box you're more likely to have needs 8 hours to do the same thing. Via the My Peugeot smartphone app or by using the vehicle's touchscreen, owners can schedule a wake-up time for the battery. This means that the cells can be at the optimal temperature for efficiency from the time you start up. Plus, of course, the interior can also be pre-cooled or preheated too. What else? Well, as usual with an EV, until 2025, your company car taxation will be rated at a super low 2%, and you'll be free of London congestion and ULEZ charges until that date too. Garage visits should cost less because there's less to maintain. Service intervals are every year or 20,000 miles, and owners can opt to purchase a single service plan to cover all essential maintenance. You'll be given a certificate of battery capacity after each service. The 54 kilowatt hour battery comes with an 8-year 100,000 mile warranty for 70% of its capacity. The main full car warranty is the usual unremarkable 3-year 60,000 mile Peugeot deal, which looks a bit mean compared to what an increasing number of rivals are now offering. E-308 insurance groups are Group 24 for a lower spec and Group 25 for this GT model. Peugeot calls the E-308 a benchmark car in its segment. It isn't, but we could see why you might want one, even though this model has been rather over-ambitiously priced. For the extra premium you'll be paying over obvious segment rivals, you'll be getting a family hatch EV that handles better than most of them, rides better than nearly all of them, and arguably looks better too. Whether you ultimately choose an E-308 will have a lot to do with those looks and whether you like its unusual iCockpit driving position. But if you do, then there's certainly nothing else in the segment quite like it. We're perhaps most tempted by the SW version, which was the first European-built EV estate in its class. A model which manages to combine a bit of style with the sensibility you want from an EV and the practicality you'll need from a station wagon. Whatever body style you ultimately prefer, this is the kind of family hatch sector EV model we're all going to have to get used to in the coming years. And on this evidence, the transition to that new era might be just that bit easier than expected.